At last report, armies from over 60 nations had deployed troops in the region, and those numbers are continuing to swell at an incredible pace. It's perhaps ironic that the majority of the activity is centering around a valley in Israel, whose name strikes fear in the hearts of many, the Valley of Armageddon.
I can't believe that Bronson is on his way over there.
Franco Macalousso.
Are you all right, Grandma?
Everything seems to be falling into place, Helen. Who's fighting, where they're fighting, and what they're fighting about. Even President Macalousso.
Things will get better, Grandma. They always do.
Yes, I know they will, Helen. But they're going to get a lot worse before they get better. And I'm just afraid that you're not ready for what lies ahead.
Sorry.
Hi, honey.
Hi. I was hoping you'd have time to stop and say goodbye. Are you all packed?
Yeah, I think so. It's pretty hard, though, when you only get 10 minutes notice.
Are you sure you want to do this, Bronson? I mean, the latest reports are looking really ugly. Chuck's in Tel Aviv, and he says he's never seen...
We've been through this already, Helen. Come on. It's not as if this is my first trip to the front lines.
Things are different this time, and you know it.
Look, you and I have been news anchors for so long. You know it's a newsman's job to go out and get the news. Besides, it's my responsibility to the world. And who knows, maybe in some small way I can make a difference.
Well, if anyone can, it's you. It's just that I've never seen it this bad. I mean, my grandmother is completely convinced that the world is about to end.
Well, she was talking about that during the Gulf War. Let's just hope she's wrong again.
What if she's not wrong? I mean, what if the world is about to end? Have you ever thought about that?
Yeah, I've thought about that. It's hard not to. You and I may be the ones that has to tell the world that it's all over. We'll just do what we've always done. We'll just have to tell the truth. It's never failed us before. But right now, Helen, the truth is that I love you very much, and I will be back before you know it. Trust me.
Okay. Will you call me from the plane?
Mm-hmm.
I'm doing the 6 o'clock report tonight, and I shouldn't be much later. I don't want to let you go.
Oh, I'll be just fine, Helen.
Promise?
Promise.
To hide, nowhere to run. He prophesied this day would come. You can close your eyes when he sends you the sign. You can just pretend that you have plenty of time. But when you're caught in the eye of the storm, nowhere to turn as the thunder crashes. So many times you were warned, but now you're trapped as the battle rages. You could be safe with the Lord, not caught in the eye of the storm.
And while talks among world leaders continue, there is a wave of fear spreading around the globe. A fear that what seemed nothing more than a regional conflict only a few weeks ago may now be developing into the start of nothing less than a full-scale world war. Continuing troop buildups in the Middle East today followed a pattern of escalation that leaves most observers fearing the very worst. But while the crisis has really only been developing for just over a month now, it's clear its roots go much deeper. And today the question on all of our minds is whether this 4,000-year-old conflict is about to find its end in a nuclear fireball. WNN's continuing coverage of the Battle of Armageddon will continue. When we come back, we'll join Bronson Pearl, who's on location in the very eye of the storm in central Israel.
Yes, Mr. Pearl, it is Armageddon. To us, the word is Megiddo.
Megiddo, Armageddon, the name doesn't really matter. It's what it represents. Half the world's armies are on their way here right now. And everyone that is watching television is expecting, well, the end of everything.
We understand that, Bronson. But you have to understand, too. This is our land. It's all we've got. There is no other safe place for the Jew. You know that. Wherever we have gone for 2,000 years, we have been hated and butchered. And now, they want to do it to us again, in our own land. It's just a tiny sliver of a land. So the land is meaningless. It is our existence they cannot tolerate. We have got to fight. We are not a people who can hope for a better day. We live as one. We'll die as one.
I do sympathize with you, General. But it is not just nations we are talking about here.
We're set, Bronson. We're going live in 30 seconds.
Yeah, are you going to give me the cue from Helen? Thanks, Helen. I'm standing here in the heart of modern-day Israel, not far from a place called Armageddon. All we can do is hope and pray that this name does not end up being prophetic as events unfold here over the next few hours. Less than 5 miles from here, troops from over 60 nations are gathering and preparing for war. The fact that this massive conflict appears to be building up around a place called Armageddon is not really a coincidence. The simple fact is that Armageddon is the only passage into Israel that Mother Nature has left open. And that leaves enormous foreign armies only hours from Jerusalem and Tel Aviv. But even though the ground-based troops have not yet made it into these cities, hundreds of aircraft have. And as you can see, the damage is extensive. So far, there are no reports of non-conventional weapons being used, but clearly, we are now only seeing the start of something much bigger. Hour by hour, every nation in the world is being forced to take a side in this showdown. And as Pentagon spokesman Richard Stanfield has made clear, the United States is no exception.
Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. The President has made it clear that the United States supports the right of Israel to exist. To that end, we will use whatever force is appropriate and necessary to defend that right. The President has been in touch with the Russians, the Chinese, and the President of the Arab League within the past hour. He has forcefully communicated America's position and our decision to meet any aggression in kind. An eye for an eye, a tooth for a tooth. The United States is ready and prepared to go to war to defend Israel, our friend and our ally. Thank you very much. No more questions. No more questions.
Obviously, the stakes are much higher than this tiny valley in this tiny nation. And while the hands on the doomsday clock move closer to midnight, there still may be a glimmer of hope for the world. European Union President Franco Macalousso is expected to arrive in the area tomorrow morning. He is the one man who has the respect of every single party to the conflict, and many believe that he is the only one who can back us away from the edge of the cliff before we tumble over. In fact, in an intriguing proclamation yesterday, the charismatic leader boldly stated that he won't allow the world to destroy itself. He even seemed to predict that a miraculous event awaits us. A moment when we find that missiles and bombs are no match for the will of a completely united mankind. Hopefully, President Macalousso can convince the world that the Battle of Armageddon is not a foregone conclusion, and that history will instead unfold exactly as we write it over the next few days. I'm Bronson Pearl, reporting for WNN near Armageddon in central Israel. Helen?
Thank you, Bronson. It'll be great to get you back to your spot here at the WNN anchor desk. We take you now to New York, where Bureau Chief Murray Bothwell will ask some
New
tough
York's
questions
coming up.
about what might happen
New York's on the line.
if someone decides
Okay,
to use chemical, biological, or even nuclear
Take
weapons.
care of this for me, will you? Jim,
For now, though, most
I
observers
need more light in the
agree
studio. I
this
need it in
scenario
10
is
minutes.
becoming
All
much
right, we're
more
going back from
likely
New York in
with
10.
every
I need more
passing
light as
hour.
soon as you can get it for me. Okay? Take care of that. Okay, Helen, you're clear.
Robert, is Bronson still on the line?
Yes, ma'am.
Good. Could you patch him through to me, please? I really need to talk to him.
Yeah, sure thing. Go.
Bronson, are you there? Is it as bad as it looks?
I've never seen anything like it. It's like everyone is just assuming that there's no turning back.
I just can't believe all this is happening and we're so far apart. I miss you so much, Bronson.
I miss you too, Helen. But I gotta be here right now. Every world leader is watching this thing through us. Maybe I can help. Maybe I can get them to see what is really about to happen.
What was that?
Just some guys testing some weapons. Don't worry about it. I'll be home soon.
You promise?
Hey, I'm the most trusted guy in the world, remember?
Well, then I guess I'll just have to believe.
I gotta go. I love you.
I love you too.
Indeed, as WNN begins today to simultaneously broadcast via television, the internet, and even the 70,000 electronic billboards like this one, it seems almost providential that such technology is coming online at this exact moment. The all-too-real threat of nuclear war has just about everyone on the planet glued to the latest news. Whether it is the United States, Russia, China, or Australia, we all seem to be realizing, for perhaps the first time, that we are all indeed in exactly the same boat. Well, hopefully, this new technology will help us to truly come together before we annihilate one another. For WNN, this is Janet Shutt.
Jim, any word from Bronson yet?
Sorry, Helen. Nothing yet.
He'll be all right, Helen. Jim and I have our whole church praying for him.
Thanks, Susie. Looks like we'll need all the help we can get.
Well, I'm not a religious man myself, but God help us all.
Amen to that.
Hey, everybody, look who's going live.
Yes! All right, people, let's get ready. We're going live when he's done. All right, folks, we're going live in 3, 2...
Events here in the Middle East took a horrifying turn for the worst a few minutes ago. We have confirmed reports that Israel's largest city, Tel Aviv, has been hit with a series of chemical warheads that have been spreading deadly poison across the region as quickly as the wind will carry it. Command leader General Alizar had this to say a few minutes ago.
Right now, as I speak these words, a deadly cloud is traveling across the Israeli countryside, killing every living thing it touches. Even gas masks are useless against these chemicals. This cloud does not care if you are a soldier or a civilian, an adult or a baby, a Jew or a Palestinian. It will not destroy military targets, communication outposts, transportation links, or airfields. Instead, it has only one purpose: to kill innocent people, to try to finish the job that Hitler started and failed.
Clearly the general means what he is saying, and right now the activity in the air above us has intensified almost beyond belief. Enormous explosions in the distance have rocked the ground we're standing on. We have confirmed reports now that the U.S. aircraft carrier Nebraska has just been hit by a torpedo from a Chinese nuclear submarine. No confirmation yet on what type of weapon was used, but we do have confirmation that the Nebraska has been destroyed, and its crew of nearly 5,000 men and women are presumed dead. We're still waiting for an official statement from the Pentagon, but for now it's safe to say that the United States of America is officially at war. Meanwhile, here in central Israel, the greatest military confrontation in the history of the world continues to loom this evening, with an estimated 3 million troops now deployed within 100 square miles of where I am standing now. Another 2 million are reported to be less than 3 hours away. Clearly, everything we are seeing is pointing in the direction of a battle the likes of which this world has never seen. Nuclear, chemical, and biological weapons have now been used, and unless someone hits the brake, our future may be a short one. For WNN, I'm Bronson Pearl, near Armageddon, Israel.
Clearly, the almost inevitable conclusion that a nuclear device of some kind was used to sink the Nebraska suggests that the war in the Middle East may be about to escalate into a full-scale nuclear confrontation. We have Dr. Stephen Horn on the line with us right now. Dr. Horn is the head of nuclear research and development at UCLA. Dr. Horn, thank you for agreeing to talk to us.
Well, thank you.
How many nuclear weapons are there?
Well, consider the atom bomb that fell on Hiroshima in 1945. In the nuclear stockpile today, we would have the equivalent of 700,000 of those bombs. To put it more dramatically, that would amount to 4 tons of TNT for every man, woman, and child in the world. It's like having your own Oklahoma City truck bomb for each and every one.
Oh, I'm sorry, Dr. Horn. We interrupt this statement to take you now to David Boyle in Beijing, China for this update.
Helen, the footage you are seeing is less than 90 seconds old. I'm standing here not a quarter mile from the Chinese Defense Ministry headquarters, which, as you can see, has just been rocked by an enormous explosion. We were waiting here for a statement from the Chinese on the attack on the Nebraska when the building just burst into flames. Then, within a matter of seconds, the entire structure just caved in on itself. There is no doubt that what we have just witnessed is a U.S. retaliation for an attack on the Nebraska, and that our planet has just edged closer to the brink of World War III. David Boyle, WNN, Beijing.
Ladies and gentlemen, we have just received word from NORAD Command that several land-based nuclear missile launches have now been detected. We will keep you apprised as to their intended targets, but for now we are advising everyone who can see us right now to take immediate shelter.
General Alvazar, nukes inbound. Tel Aviv, Jerusalem. ETA 3 minutes.
You know what to do. Something's fist.
Now confirmed that a nuclear explosion has rocked the Soviet nuclear missile site on the Kamchatka Peninsula in northern Russia. No word yet on who is responsible for the bombing, and also no word on whether or not the Russians had launched any weapons of their own prior to the strike. There is little doubt, however, that more nuclear strikes can be expected around the world in the next little while. We take you now back to Richard Stanfield at the Pentagon.
Forces not already in the Gulf are being mobilized in record numbers. And the United States will throw every resource it has into battling these enemies of peace. A full draft program is now being prepared and will be announced within the hour. In the meantime, we ask all Americans to pray for the President of the United States will now address the nation.
My fellow Americans, approximately 11 minutes ago, several hundred nuclear weapons were launched against us and our allies by the enemies of world peace. The exact targets cannot be determined, but catastrophic destruction is a certainty. Even though the policy of mutually assured destruction was intended to deter an event such as this one, it is also a philosophy that I believe must be carried out in practice, not just in principle. In keeping with that view, I have just authorized a counterstrike, the magnitude of which is almost beyond measure. Those who would see fit to kill hundreds of millions of innocent people for political gain must not be allowed to take control of the world, and the United States will not stand by and watch them do it, whatever the cost. It is indeed a sad statement about the human race that people would rather destroy the planet than open their minds to the views and beliefs of others. I am deeply sorry for what has happened. I am sorry that it has happened on my watch. God help us all.
The President's message is clear. Nuclear destruction far beyond anything any of us could have imagined is now imminent. The fact that the President is now aboard Air Force One suggests that the continental United States is indeed a likely target. Unfortunately, the design of the warheads makes it impossible to know which cities have been targeted until only seconds before detonation. For all we know, we could be sitting on one of those targets right now. Any of us could. We now join our Los Angeles affiliate station already in progress.
But it is unlikely that any kind of defense could be designed to protect us against such terrible weapons of mass destruction. I think probably the best thing we could have done would be perhaps to go home, say goodbye, and perhaps...
Oh my God, Charlie! Charlie, this is impossible. It's just impossible. I just can't believe it. I don't know what to say. My cameraman, Charles Taffas, he's just disappeared right in front of me. I don't understand it. People all around me seem to have been vaporized or something.
Someone took my baby!
Helen, are you okay?
Jim was working on the light. It just fell down.
I can't believe it. I just can't believe it.
Suzette and Eve, they've vanished. Oh my God, not Helen too.
Bronson, are you there? Bronson, please, are you there?
If they had a weapon like this, our intelligence should have known about it. How can we fight against this if we don't even know what it is?
Sir, we are receiving reports from all over the place. Planes down, men missing. Right here in camp, we appear to have lost at least 100 men.
We must have been hit by something. Find out.
General, it's not just here. Our live feed from stateside shows that people have vanished from there, too.
Ladies and gentlemen, as you can see, it appears that something very unusual is happening in the world at the moment. We are receiving reports from all over the world of people simply vanishing into thin air. We are not receiving any news on any nuclear detonations at this time, so exactly what has happened is not clear. We will be keeping in touch with you on everything that's happening, so please stay tuned.
Hey, Helen, we're clear.
Helen, please, can you hear me?
Bronson, thank God you're okay. I thought you...
I thought you were too.
What's going on? Do you know anything?
No, I don't know if anyone does. But I can tell you this, all the nukes are gone. They simply vanished from radar along with all those people. The Israelis here are convinced it's a new weapon of some kind. But it's hard to imagine what it could be.
I'm just so glad you're all right, Bronson. I don't know what I'd do without you.
Well, I'm about to head to Jerusalem with General Alazar. Maybe I can find some answers there.
I think we're about to find out more, Bronson. Keep watching your monitor because we're getting some more reports now. Ladies and gentlemen, we are receiving reports from all around the world that may shed some light on exactly what might have happened. We'll start with videographer Alan Camborough in London.
The situation here in central England is absolutely out of control. There are hardly words to describe it. With reports of tens of thousands of, I guess what you would have to call vanishings, now reported, the impact has been staggering. Here on a highway not far from London, thousands of vehicles suddenly became deadly projectiles when their drivers simply disappeared into thin air.
And while the degree of carnage is staggering, almost everyone agrees it is only a fraction of the nuclear devastation we all expected only a few moments ago.
It's almost impossible to comprehend. In a tiny Swiss village, this is the scene after a suddenly unmanned passenger train with more than 60 cars raced into a train station at full speed, smashing into the back of another train without warning. This aircraft plummeted to the ground in a huge fireball, and instant after the tower lost contact with the pilot. This helicopter lost altitude without explanation and crashed into the water below. The pilot's clothes were found, but no body was recovered.
And citizens around the world are reacting in the only way most people could expect, with total panic. Here in Tokyo, hundreds of people were gathered around this lobby, listening to a top government official. He was announcing his belief that the Battle of Armageddon was actually a fulfillment of ancient prophecy. As he spoke, however, he vanished in front of them, leaving only a neatly folded pile of clothes where he stood only seconds before. No one at the time could possibly have known that the same thing had happened in every city on Earth.
And no matter where you look around the world, it seems that almost everyone has lost someone. And there was total mayhem on city streets everywhere as people rush around trying to find their loved ones. The only evidence that they were ever even here is the neatly folded piles of clothes that lie from one end of the globe to the other.
So what in the world happened? No one seems to have the first idea, but there are a few things we do know. First of all, NATO command now confirms that every nuclear weapon that was in flight at the time of this event did indeed also disappear. Where the people went, however, is anyone's guess. NASA and the crew aboard the Space Shuttle Columbia report no sighting from beyond this world, at least none that our instruments can detect.
On the military front, all hostilities have simply ceased in chaos and confusion. Any military forces that can be spared patrol the borders of their respective nations, but not one of those nations has any idea who or what they are looking for.
Looting and rioting are commonplace, and as one New York police chief told us, it's as if a cloud of evil suddenly descended upon us tonight. Unfortunately, many of the world's peace officers are being forced to pay the price.
There is no doubt that panic and mayhem have had their run for much of the day. Grief has set in, and millions are having to grapple with the reality that they may well have seen their loved ones for the very last time. Mothers have lost babies, fathers have lost sons, wives have lost husbands.
No matter where you turn or who you talk to, it seems that almost everyone has lost someone. At the same time, everyone must be wondering who might be next.
How could one man disappear from his seat in an airplane, leaving another passenger just sitting there? Why were they taken? Why were we left behind? For WNN, I'm Janet Shutt.
One world, one network. This is WNN.
We have just been able to establish a link-up with Bronson Pearl, who is now reporting from near the Western Wall in Old Jerusalem.
Obviously, Helen, today is a date that will be remembered forever. As long as any of us live, we'll all remember exactly where we were at noon today. The entire world is in a total state of shock. The entire world, except for one man, that is. As reported yesterday, European Union President Franco Macalousso predicted that missiles and bombs were no match for the will of united mankind. Well, today, nuclear weapons that were in the air vanished just seconds after millions of people did the same. A tape of President Macalousso on the Mount of Olives earlier today has just been released to WNN. We take you to that now.
My children, I come to you today not in the name of another, but in my own name. Let there be no mistake and no misunderstanding. I was the one who created you, who loved you, and watched you grow. Today you know the truth. You know that had I not intervened, you would have destroyed yourself, my creation. But that intervention has come at a cost. I have had to remove some of the children because they had chosen the way of hate. But today is the dawn of a new era, an era of peace and prosperity. I am the God of your fathers. I am that I am.
I've read right to the end. You're too late.
Who are you?
Just someone who's read all the way to the end.
Stacy, get security in here right away. Thanks for dropping by, Mr. Get him out of here. I said, get him out of here.
Thank you, Agent Domi. I believe that will be all. I'll be taking full control of the WNN network effective immediately.
What are you talking about? I'm in charge here.
Perhaps I didn't make myself clear. Lost everyone, right?
Actually, I know where they've gone.
This is no time for fairy tales, my friend. The Messiah's already told you what happened yesterday. Your search for answers is over.
You may call him the Messiah. This book has another name for him.
And you honestly think the Messiah's worried about a bunch of crazies thinking he's the devil? Believe me, he's not worried about that at all. That's my job.
Helen! Grandma?
Since the vanishing, there's been an estimated 10,000% increase in heart attacks, apparently caused by anxiety and fear over the events of the last 24 hours. In New York City alone, there have been more than 68,000 heart attacks in the last 12 hours. With more on that, here's...
Grandma!
Grandma, are you there? It's me, Helen. Please call me as soon as you get this message, all right? Bye. Grandma, it's Helen. Please call me. I really need to know that you're all right. Grandma, it's me again. Where are you?
My dear Helen, I may be gone, but don't worry. I'm with the Lord now, and please believe it's true, Helen. It's not too late for you. God will help you. All you have to do is ask. I love you. Grandma.
One world, one network. This is WNN.
In the past 36 hours, this world and all of us living in it have had a lot to deal with. But as incredible as the events themselves may have been, they pale in comparison to the bigger picture.
I think it is very important that the citizens of the United States, and indeed of the whole world, understand something very clearly. Without the direct intervention of God Himself in the affairs of mankind, those of us unfortunate enough to still be alive right now would be living in nothing less than an apocalyptic nuclear desert.
It was incredible. Clearly a direct act of intervention by God Himself. Airplanes simply turned and returned home. Missiles that were soaring overhead, bombs that were falling, even bullets in the air suddenly vanished.
1 minute it was all-out war, the next minute it was all-out peace. I saw it with my own eyes, and I still can't believe it.
Only later did we learn that the Messiah himself had returned to Jerusalem at that very moment.
On the other side of the war, the advancing armies were equally shocked and equally thankful for the incredible events on the battlefield yesterday.
It was truly incredible. Little did we know that Allah himself had come to save the entire world. Praise be to Allah.
But thanks to the Messiah, not one nuclear missile ever found its target. Praise be to God from saving us from ourselves.
Whoever you are, wherever you are hearing these words now, thanks to God, period.
Friends, you know, we've talked about all the signs of the times so very, very often, and I think I have a good question for Jack, maybe going through your mind also. What should we be looking for as far as what's going to happen next on God's prophetic calendar?
Rexella, we should be looking for the blessed hope, Titus 2:13, which is the return of the Lord Jesus Christ in the clouds of glory to catch away all believers from this earth in a moment, in the twinkling of an eye, 1 Corinthians 15:52. And this is called the rapture.
Oh, Jack, it is so exciting to think about the coming of the Lord when he's going to take all of those who have their faith and trust in him home to be with him. But you know, friends, there's another side of the coin. All of us have friends and neighbors and loved ones who do not know the Lord. And they're not going to even perhaps know what happened to those who vanished off the face of the earth. Jack, what will happen to these people?
Well, Rexella, we have a tremendous book, and it has all the answers. After this rapture, this world politician comes to power, 2 Thessalonians chapter 2, verses 7 and 8. He will be a super deceiver. And he'll try to let the world know that he is the promised Messiah, the Prince of Peace of Isaiah 9:6. And he'll tell the world, I have come to save you from destruction. And they'll believe it because he confirms the peace pact for a period of 7 years in Daniel 9:27. But he's not the Messiah. He's an imposter. He is empowered and incarnated by Satan, Revelation 13:3. And therefore, the peace pact fails. For the Bible says, when they say peace and safety, then sudden destruction cometh upon them as travail upon a woman with child, and they shall not escape.
Arise, and the world will accept him as a peacemaker, and he's going to bring peace on the entire globe. Now, does the Bible spell this out in great detail?
Rexella, this book is tremendous, and the facts are there. The Bible teaches that this world politician is going to come to power and be accepted because of his peace program. Daniel 11:21 says he comes in peaceably. Daniel 11:24, he enters in peaceably. And he confirms fails. Why? Because this one who has claimed to be the Messiah has been nothing but a deceiver.
Open your heart to Jesus Christ. You say to me, well, Luis, how shall I do it? What do I have to do? Listen, and I give you the invitation. Jesus says, I stand at your door and knock. If anyone hears my voice and opens the door, I will come into you and eat with you and you with me. In other words, all you and I have to do is simply say, Lord Jesus, the door is open, come in. And he says, I will come into you, but the decision is yours. And right now, I hope that many of you have come prepared by God with an open mind, with a hungry heart, and you'll say, Lord Jesus, I want eternal life. I want to know you as a good God. I want to be forgiven, Lord, because I need your forgiveness. And Lord, I want eternal life.
Dear God, please forgive me for being so stubborn. Somehow I always knew Grandma was right when she told me I needed you to wash away my sins. So I'm asking you now, please, come into my heart and my life. Forgive my sins.
This is Sandy Beverly, and you're listening to Talk Radio 1010. Let's go back to the phones. Seattle, Washington, what's on your mind?
Sandy, I love your show. I listen all the time.
Thanks, Seattle.
The last caller was marveling at world peace, and I just wanted to say that President Macalousso has done so much more than just that. Right here in my family, people who haven't spoken a word to each other in over 20 years are suddenly coming back together. I know part of it is just that we're happy to be alive, but there's more to it than that. It's like we've all changed on the inside, too.
No question about it. God, it's just so fantastic. It's like we've all fallen in love with life again. Our next call is from Toronto, Canada. What's on your mind, Toronto?
Doesn't anyone out there have a Bible? This Macalousso guy is clearly the one the Bible calls the Antichrist.
Sorry, folks. Let's have serious callers only, please. Detroit, Michigan.
Sorry, Randy, I
what's on
just
your...
wanted to talk to you about something I saw yesterday. Oh, I'm sorry. Where's Randy?
I'm Len Parker. I've taken over for Mr. Sestilli.
What are you talking about?
He's out. I'm in. Not much else to say, really.
And you are?
I just told you. I'm Len Parker, the new head of WNN.
What, just like that?
It's a new world now, Miss Hannah. Time for a whole new way of looking at the news. I'm afraid Mr. Sestilli's vision was a little too old-fashioned.
And you think yours is better?
Actually, the Messiah thinks mine is better. He's the one who sent me here. Everything I do here will be to help him create a heaven on earth.
I see. And I take it the two goons in the studio are part of this heaven, Mr. Parker.
Every great cause in history, no matter how noble, had idiots and backward thinkers getting in the way. We'd like to keep that to a minimum this time around.
You may be playing an even bigger game than you're aware of, Mr. Parker. I just hope you realize exactly what's at stake.
Oh, don't you worry, Miss Hannah. I do.
Apparently, we're about to get some great shots of the crowds there. So if I signal you, then you throw to Janet Shutt in Jerusalem. Helen.
Yeah, Mike, Janet Shutt in Jerusalem.
Across America and around the world.
Going live
You're watching
in
WNN
5, 4,
with Bronson Pearl
3.
and Helen Hannah.
I'm pleased to be able to welcome our very own Bronson Pearl back to the WNN news desk. As you know, Bronson has been covering events in the Middle East for the past several weeks. And Bronson, it sure is good to have you back safe and sound.
Thanks, Helen. It's good to be back. Actually, it's good to be anywhere.
Well, you're right about that. Bronson, just to bring you up to date, we've been waiting for our feed from Jerusalem, where President Macalousso has promised to shed some light on the absolutely incredible events of the past 48 hours.
Well, clearly the world is ready for this broadcast. In fact, the numbers that I've been hearing are suggesting that this is going to be the most watched telecast in history. Clearly, All the people out there are desperate for some answers.
Oh, we're about to go live to Jerusalem for that speech, and our coverage will continue from London. So for Bronson Pearl, I'm Helen Hannah. See you again tomorrow.
One world, one network. This is WNN.
Children of the world, welcome to a new age of peace and prosperity. Welcome to an age of human enlightenment. Welcome to heaven on earth. I hold in my hand right now the most important book in the history of the world. Unfortunately, it is also the most misunderstood. A long time ago, a man, a deceitful and evil man, a man named Jesus, came in my name and deceived many. But his deception has come to an end. His lies of hatred, his lies of division and intolerance led you to the brink of destruction. But I have removed the tares from the wheat. I have come in peace, and I have brought peace to the world. I have saved you all from certain destruction. This book has told you, by my fruits you would know me. Now you have seen my good deeds and my miracles. My children, I am here to tell you today that we are ready to take the next great step of evolution. I will show you the wonderful powers that lie within you, waiting to be unleashed. Powers that have been your birthright from the very beginning. What has held you back until now were those who refused to believe in the power of the human mind. Those who believed that our true power came from outside ourselves. I tell you today, the power is not outside yourself. It is within yourself. It always has been. Power is not outside yourself. It is within.
I'll catch the rest of this in my dressing room.
It always has been.
Show me what you read.
Yes, sir.
Domi. Frobert.
Helen, what is the rush?
So what's this all about, Helen? I don't think I've ever seen you this upset.
Just get in the car. Looks like you're not the only one who wants to know what I've discovered.
I mean, you should have seen it, Helen. It really was a miracle. Honestly, I mean, all of a sudden this guy sets foot on Mount of Olives and bam! The whole world changes. Missiles vanish, war stops, millions of people just disappear. Oh, and the timing. If he was just like a minute and a half later, the planet would have turned into this giant mushroom cloud. Now, if he is an imposter or a charlatan, I mean, there's no way he could have pulled this off. But I'll tell you, if he is not the guy who he says he is, then who is he?
I think I'd rather let you see it for yourself than try to explain it. Why don't you watch this tape? Then you can draw your own conclusions.
So, Jack, you are telling us that millions of people are going to vanish off the face of the earth and that the world will have peril as never before. And then all of a sudden, this great man, this great leader will arise and the world will accept him as a peacemaker, and he's going to bring peace on the entire globe. Now, does the Bible spell this out in great detail?
Rexella, this book is tremendous, and the facts are there. The Bible teaches that this world politician is going to come to power and be accepted because of his peace program. Daniel 11:21 says he comes in peaceably. Daniel 11:24, he enters in peaceably. And he confirms a peace contract with the nations who've been negotiating already for a period of 7 years. Let me quote the text, Daniel 9:27. He shall confirm the covenant for 1 week. The word week there in the Hebrew is Shabua, meaning 7 years. And so the world is going to say, ha, it's happened. Peace, 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 peace. Jeremiah 6:14 and Jeremiah 8:11. But there'll be no peace. It all fails. Why? Because this one who has claimed to be the Messiah has been nothing but a deceiver. 1 John 1:7, the infamous Antichrist of 1 John 2:18. And the world will really learn that they had been worshiping a false God, a false Christ.
Well, what do you think?
Wow. Pretty fascinating stuff. You know, you and I should do a special report on that someday.
What are you talking about? Someday? Don't you see we don't have much time? Well, we've got to warn the world. This Macalousso guy is the Antichrist, for crying out loud.
Whoa, back up the truck here. You're not taking this stuff literally, are you? Oh, for God's sake, Helen. You're a journalist. We've been talking about the most incredible event that happened to the history of this planet. You're talking to me about the boogeyman?
I can't believe you can't see it, Bronson. I mean, it's all right here.
Oh, I'll tell you what I see, Helen. I see somebody that needs to take a step back just for a minute here. I mean, we've all been through a lot here in the past 2 days. We thought the world was going to end. Why don't we just go back to the studio?
I'm not going back.
What are you talking about?
I'm not going back. Look, if you're blind to what's going on here, then that's between you and God. But I know the truth about Macalousso, and I'm not going to join you in telling the world what a great guy he is.
You know, out of all the people that I know, I thought you'd be the last person who would get caught up in a religious cult.
Well, it's clear, Bronson. And if you just open up that steel trap of yours, you'd see it too. What's it going to take for you to believe that this is for real?
Oh, do you know what it'll take, Helen, when Macalousso shows up for that speech tomorrow carrying a pitchfork?
Please.
Oh, look, Helen, come on now. Up until now, it's always been seeing is believing with you and I. Now you want to turn that around, and what you're seeing is what you want to believe.
Well, and you're refusing to see what you don't want to believe. Oh, look, maybe you're not ready to fall on your knees, and frankly, I'm not asking you to. You know, of all the people I know, I'd have thought you'd have been the last person just to dismiss something this big without even looking at it.
Look, I am not saying there's nothing to it. My father spent his entire life believing it. It made him a happier man. In fact, I think it made him a better man. But I'll tell you, at the end of the day, he still ended up dead, just like the rest of us will.
No, Bronson. His earthly body may have died, but his soul is still very much alive.
Oh, I wish I could believe that, Helen. Honest to God, I do. Look, I have met President Macalousso myself. I have seen what he's done with my own eyes. He's not evil. In fact, he's the furthest thing from evil. I mean, look at what he's done here. He has rid the world of hatred. Now, you have to admit, he has saved us from our most imminent destruction. Now he wants to unite the world in peace. Now, I wasn't there when Jesus turned the water into wine, but I was there for this. And he is the guy who he says he is, Helen.
Can we just forget our emotions for a few minutes and look at this professionally? Okay? Okay, we have a guy who's making some pretty gigantic claims about himself. Sure, he's impressive. But we have some very strong evidence that he might be an imposter. Now, shouldn't we, as journalists, at least check it out?
Okay. Let's take it from the start here. Now, this Antichrist character, he's supposed to come out of the Roman Empire, right?
Yeah, that's right. And according to this encyclopedia, well, the European Union, it's virtually identical geographically to the Roman Empire of biblical times.
Okay, that's pretty interesting. Now, what else is there?
Not a bad picture. For a camera half the size of a frozen pea, I just slid it right under the door and voila, our evening's entertainment.
I just hope they don't see it.
Not a chance. This thing is so tiny, you wouldn't see it even if you were looking for it.
Wow, sure have been a lot of fulfillments in the past, 2 days? There's still a few more things we're waiting for, though. I think the biggest one would be this 7-year treaty between Israel and the rest of the world.
No, I'm sorry. You know, I just can't accept this. Whether it's compelling, whether it's interesting, this is just ludicrous. I am a professional journalist, for God's sake. And I mean, I'm listening, I'm worrying about some bad dreams of some ancient shepherd.
Bronson,
No, I'm going back to the studio, and I'll cover you the best that I can until you sit here and think and come back to your senses. But Helen, I am telling you, with every bone in my body, you're going right off the deep end. And I am not going with you.
Bronson!
Oh, and you can tell your God, if he has something to say to me, he knows where I live.
Here's today's copy and some suggested banter notes, Mr. Pearl.
Oh, thanks, Carrie.
Good morning, Bronson.
Hi, Mike.
Mr. Parker wants to see you in the audio suite. Right away.
Thanks.
Mr. Pearl, Mr. Parker wants to talk to you first thing. Hey, Bronson, have you seen...
Parker, not yet, but I guess I should, huh? Trouble in paradise, Len?
Where's Miss Hannah, Mr. Pearl?
Well, how should I know? Have you called her house?
Cut the bull, Pearl. Where is she?
I just told you, I don't know. What's going on here?
No, Bronson. His earthly body may have died, but his soul is still very much alive.
Oh, I wish I could believe that, Helen. Honest to God, I do.
So, what do you believe, Mr. Pearl?
You got the tape. You figure it out.
Does that mean you don't know? That you haven't made a decision?
Look, I just walked out on the woman that I love. That should tell you what I believe.
We need to know that you support our Messiah.
I'm sure not here because I support you.
Helen's missing, Mr. Pearl. We just hope she's not going to do anything stupid and put herself in danger.
Danger? You mean you, right?
It's my job to protect the interests of the Messiah and the peace and unity of this world.
What exactly is that supposed to mean?
It means anger and hatred of the enemies now. And I will do whatever I have to eliminate every source of anger and hatred that I can find.
Eliminate? Don't beat around the bush here. What exactly do you mean when you say eliminate? You're talking about killing them, right?
Look, Mr. Pearl, don't act like I'm the enemy, because I'm not. I'm just trying to serve the Messiah and to help him bring peace and unity to the world. Who could possibly have a problem with that?
Set the spider to the fly. Thanks, Mike.
Hello, this is Edna. Please leave me a message. Helen, are you there? Please, Helen, pick up the phone. Come on, Helen, where are you?
Mike, I understand you're the guy who can help me. I have a bit of a concern.
Sure. What's up, Chief?
I'm a little worried that someone might say something damaging on the air.
Well, we could set up a 12-second delay system.
What's that mean?
It just means that you'll have 12 seconds to review every transmission before it gets sent out to the world. We do it on live call-in shows all the time.
Okay, set it up. Oh, and don't mention this to anyone, okay? We don't want to alarm anyone or make them think we're worried about the haters.
Consider it done.
Across America and around the world, you're watching WNN with Bronson Pearl and Helen Hannah.
Hello, I'm Bronson Pearl. Helen is on special assignment. As the situation in Europe and the Middle East continues to look better than ever, many are hoping that events will take another quantum leap sometime soon. President Macalousso has been meeting with world leaders in Bonn, Germany for the past 9 hours, and an announcement is expected any time now. Of course, we'll bring you that live when it happens. Right now, with more on the situation in Bonn, here's Sam Metcalf.
It has now been confirmed that foreign ministers from the European Union, as well as leading religious dignitaries from around the world, have been meeting all night in this German government building. The attendees began arriving late last evening, apparently being summoned by the man we had all believed to be the European Union president. In fact, however, it is now agreed by virtually the entire planet that he is much more than that. Sir, can you comment on your meetings with President Macalousso?
Well, even with the planet being saved from the brink of almost certain destruction, and the haters of peace and unity have been removed, the most incredible sign we have seen has been the realization by the entire world that President Franco Macalousso is indeed who he says he is. I think we can say that we are, yes, living in biblical times. The Messiah of Israel, of the whole world, is living with us, and he's living today. And thanks to him, we are living in peace.
He brought peace. That we knew was how we would recognize the true Messiah. He would bring peace. Did the one they called Jesus, did he bring peace? No. Only the true Messiah can do that.
I've just received word that we're ready to go live to the embassy in Bonn.
As you can see on the monitor, the Messiah has achieved something today that no person has been able to do before now. He has brokered a full and comprehensive peace agreement between two brothers who have been separated for more than 6,000 years. This 7-year far-reaching agreement, however, goes beyond a simple peace between Arabs and Jews. It establishes the basis for a newly agreed-to constitution for planet Earth. The Messiah will speak to the world shortly about these incredible developments. Thank you.
Oh, yes, a 7-year peace treaty between people who have been at war for 4,000 years is clearly nothing short of a miracle. When we come back, we'll talk to our chief political correspondent in Washington about just what all of this means.
Well, there's your 7-year peace treaty, Bronson. That should give you some food for thought. God, please show me what to do.
In the Holy Bible, it tells us of a day when the beast shall walk among us, and many shall fall away. Famine, war, and desolation, nation rising against nation, trouble everywhere you turn. This world would be in bondage under Satan's evil power. The Antichrist will rule until that final glorious hour, when pain and sorrow disappear, and God will wipe away all tears, joy forevermore. I believe that we are living in the days John wrote about. The end times are upon us, and of that there is no doubt. Get your mind out of the world, take your Bible off the shelf, read the book of Revelations for yourself.
Tribulation.
I don't want to be here.
Tribulation.
When that flaming star comes down.
Tribulation.
When the seven seals are broken and the seven vials are open and the seven trumpets sound. Of Revelations for yourself.
Tribulation.
I don't want to be here.
Tribulation.
She must have gone up the roof. I'll go up from here, you swing around to the other side, and you make sure she doesn't come down from over there.
When the seven seals are broken and the seven vials are open and the seven trumpets sound, read the book of Revelation for yourself.
5-year treaty. Could have been a 10, but no. Had to be a 7. Give me a break.
You are listening to Point of View with Marlon Maddox.
Welcome back to Point of View. I'm Marlon Maddox. Today we're talking about one of the questions that every Christian has been asked at one time or another. If God really exists, then why doesn't he simply show himself to the world? I mean, he's God. He can do anything he wants, right? Well, today we're going to answer that very question by talking about one of the most important elements of the Christian experience, faith. And faith is what lets us know in our hearts that even after our loved ones may have departed, their spirit still lives forever in the presence of the Lord. As the Bible says, absent from the body, present with the Lord. That even after our loved ones may have departed, their spirit still lives forever in the presence of the Lord.
We circle winter, spring, and summer to fall. Spend a lifetime trying to make some sense of it all. Trip over questions raised by fallen men, as if there are solutions for the state we're in. In a picture-perfect world, there would be no crime. In a picture-perfect world, we'd be free. In a picture-perfect world, we'd be colorblind. But it's alright, I know we'll be careful. Alright, a place is prepared for. Alright, 'cause sooner or later we'll be.
Hi, Dad. What was it, Dad? What made you decide with all of your heart to believe all of this stuff? I mean, you never saw in your entire lifetime what I saw in this past week. This Macalousso guy, well, he is the real thing, Dad. I saw him. I saw him do things that nobody could possibly do. He did something not even Jesus could do. He brought peace to the whole world.